Vista School District upheld a prior decision to keep a book as part of the high school library collection.
The book, titled All Boys Aren't Blue, written by G. Johnson, was previously brought to the board's attention because the book includes sexual content, including the depiction of a sexual assault.
Tonight, the school board upheld earlier decisions by the districts and the American Civics and Curriculum Committee and the superintendent after a full review of the book.
All the review that we've seen from everyone that's reviewed it in its entirety, that they've agreed that in its full, with all the context around it, it is not pornography, that there's a difference between passages that are sexually explicit and a piece of work that is pornographic.
The decision is the final appeal in the district in an attempt to get the book removed.